across the country to be here today, and we're very glad to have you. This is the 2019 Vole meeting, and so if it's not where you need to be, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. So this meeting is being sponsored in part by the National Science Foundation. I'll mention this in a bit more detail in a moment, but Zoe Donaldson, Deb Manoli, and I had a grant together to develop some genomic tools to facilitate manipulation of gene function in query holes. And part of the grant included activities like today to try to get buy-in and get feedback from the community to see what's, to let you guys know what's going on, but also to get some sense of what's most useful and let you know about training opportunities and things like that. It's also been sponsored by the Center for Brain Behavior and Evolution. It's a center here on campus based in integrated biology, but also all across campus. A variety of researchers who are interested in natural variation in brain and behavior. And then we also have support today by Endoscopics. They've got a booth outside where the coffee roasting is. We're getting more coffee, I promise. And where lunch will be served. And so we want to thank them. And let's just take a moment before we start to thank those different sponsors for us. So you see some blue things here. There are links, which you guys all have a program with the electronic version. The program is also on the center website where you guys registered, and those links are there as well. And we'd like to make sure that this is the meeting is accessible to everybody. Some folks have trouble hearing, so we're going to ask you to please use the microphones when you're speaking, and we'll make sure they're quite easy to use. And then also we'll pass around a mic for questions to make it as easy as possible. Some of the talks are being recorded, and the recording is just set up here in the back, and the microphone also helps to make sure the audio is a little better for the recording. Okay, so there's a history of the Vole meeting. So Larry Young's lab hosted it in Atlanta in 2009, 10 years ago. Andre hosted it in Portland 5 years later, and then coincidentally we're hosting it now. We didn't plan to do this as a 10-year anniversary. Sue actually was interested in hosting a 10-year anniversary at SBN this year when she got wind of us doing this here. We're here right now, but soon, in a couple years, we're going to have another one. That's going to be hosted by Zoe Donaldson in Boulder. So keep your eyes out for that. And then in the intervening year, there will be some additional kind of more formal training opportunities as well, which we'll touch on. So you guys all completed a variety of questionnaires before you came today. And one of the things we saw was just that there's a really high fraction of people who are trainees. And so most of the people here today who filled out the questionnaire are trainees. And so we want to kind of be sure that we get a lot of different participation from folks across the scale. And so we're going to ask to follow a tradition in which after talks, the trainees ask questions first. And let's have a chance for trainees to ask questions. And so if you're moderating a session, please call on trainees first. And if you're not a trainee, give them a few questions before you jump in. As I mentioned, the reason we're here is that the three of us got an NSF grant to develop these tools. And so the first thing we're going to do this morning is have some breakout groups that Zoe's going to run to think about genetic resources and goals and what we can do, what we'd like to do. And then the three of us are each going to give short talks, about 20 minutes more or less, or about 10 minutes for questions, to have a dialogue about it, to let you guys know what we're doing. For the most part, it's still early stages. They're still in the first year of this grant. But we thought it would be helpful to kind of solicit feedback and let you guys know what we're doing sooner rather than later. There's three main projects that you're going to hear about. Dave Manoli is going to talk about generating transgenic voles using CRISPR-related techniques. Zoe Donaldson is going to talk about her lab's work using viral vectors and modified Cas9 to alter the activity of targeted genes. And then I'm going to talk about some work that we're doing to try and evolve novel AAV vectors that would allow us to interrogate function on the whole brain. And so really the purpose of this morning is to think about how we can use these tools and to think about what kind of obstacles there might be and what kind of uses there might be for them. So with that, I just want to reiterate, welcome. We're very glad you're here. We've got a very exciting bunch of talks intellectually all day today and tomorrow as well. I'm glad you're here. With that, I'll hand it over to Zoe, and she can get us started.
Guys. Right. Thank you, Steve. So I think that there was one big thank you that didn't happen at the beginning that we need to do, and that is thank you, Steve, for the amazing amount of effort that he put into this. We're all in this room largely because of him, so thank you. So when we applied for this NSF grant, one of the challenges was coming up with ways in which we could disseminate some of these technologies that were being developed to a much broader community, especially a community that doesn't necessarily normally look to genetic engineering to answer their questions. And so we've built a variety of resources that you'll hear a bit about over the next couple of days. The first is that we have a Vole genetic engineering website, and you can go here and it will link you to resources and training opportunities. But one of the things we wanted to get a sense of is just where is the community at generally. And so as Steve mentioned, you guys filled out a survey before this. And so this gave us a little bit of sense of where things are standing right now. So these are just 3 of the questions from the survey. How interested are you in performing genetic manipulations? Apparently more interested than my laser pointer is in working. How comfortable do you feel implementing CRISPR-based approaches? And then how comfortable would you feel with viral vectors? Somewhat unsurprisingly, the majority of people are more comfortable with viral approaches than with CRISPR. This makes sense. Viruses and viral vectors have been in use for quite a bit longer. When we look at this graph, though, what I wanted to point out is there is about half the community that feels relatively good about implementing these approaches, and we definitely want to talk to you from the troubleshooting angle and to see how we can best sort of foster collaborative interactions. But there's also about half the community that sort of feels like they're not comfortable implementing these. And so you guys are the ones that we are really looking to target this weekend. And you guys are also the ones who should take a minute on the website, because there's actually funding for you to come out to a specific lab and learn how to do some of these things. And so we've tried to make this as easy as possible. If you go to the Vole Genetic Engineering website, there's training opportunities, and you fill out a very brief form telling us what you want to learn, and then we'll go from there in terms of where you should go to learn that. But we're here for you. But this is also the brainchild of basically Steve and Dave and I sitting in a room trying to think of what everybody else needs, which is probably not the best way to move forward. And so we wanted to start this morning by doing a little bit of a needs assessment. And so the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is look around you, find someone that you don't know, and introduce yourself. I know it's uncomfortable and weird, just do it. So, I'm today is really focused on what do you need? What are the knowledge gaps that prevent you from using genetic methods? What's a tool or a technique that without access to it, you feel limits your research program? What would be transformative for you? And what would you like to leave this meeting with? And so what I'd like you to do is find 4 or 5 people around you, 3 to 5 people around you, and form a group. I want you to think about these questions in the context of your own research program. I then want you to designate a trainee, no faculty allowed, to articulate some of the themes within your group. So we'll go through about half the groups after this. So go ahead, find your best, closest friends, physically, approximately. What's your name?
I was in Tori Sentence. I know, rush hour. Cynthia.
No, I'm.
We're about to
That's you got Alex.
all right.
What knowledge gaps prevent you from
Yeah, I guess the starting point is if not, then that would be the entire spectrum of genetics.
Yeah.
Your training.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
So you just how to get started.
Yeah. So you're saying that that's getting intimidating, having the right stuff. Like, how do you even get started? Or fire? I'm sorry. Okay, fire.
Yeah, it's probably 2 general utilities of genetic methods. One would be to learn about genome functions, study and then utilizing manipulation of genetics development or something. I guess the question would be partly what would interest you guys the most?
Yeah, it would give me a lot more specificity of what I can do. So I just sort of study. But I did a Campbell-Eaton study, so I just obviously that's like a very gross, harsh method. I was able to actually, fit into it directly, oxidize and express the receptors would be a lot more specific. I have a better answer to my question. What happens when the storage? What happens when it's like the same question?
Yeah, that's really good. And so there's already a couple of tools that would assist even for brain research. Having something like silencing genes.
Yeah, so I do field work too, so it has to be a long lasting. They're out in the field for 18 days, so it has to be something where.
Are you able to capture brain procedures
to bring in something new.
Study for study for, it's something that you would want to have those exposure.
Exposure within the field is used to catch them who just kind of put a trap out or comes up and walk in a bunch of them. So it's, yeah, like I have undergrads actually right now who are trying to catch those last animals in the field and they can't go because they're just like walking through. So it's really need to be something where, you know, like I was saying, like developmentally or earlier in life or right before I put them out in the field.
Right, so, yeah, but you do like electric operation.
Alright, we're gonna do 2 more minutes, so if you can kind of start to synthesize and write down your ideas, that would be great.
Yeah, that's nice.
You'd want tools that to read,
Exactly. A long lasting.
So, I don't know what I'm out, but I've recently been trying to start in situ organization and just the confusion of where to even go for research. And some research on redesign, yeah, but where do I even go for the research that would be something that I can just
A document where everyone can put in, everyone can put in like, here are the product numbers that we use for this thing. This is the website you go to. I guess different websites also call the same thing different things. And then it just gets very confusing.
Yeah, and there's one real nice advantage to
I leave this like very big.
something like immuno-challenging disease, there aren't antibodies for it, and so you have to decide how much investigator you're going to do, lots of background, and on the antibodies that you ditch it, and say that's not going to work. You might be afraid of the mouse or something, it doesn't work. Whereas, like, when you're designing a probe for in situ, you have to design it specifically so you versus trying to identify. So having resources available that's not so everybody has to create it forever.
That's just a lot of wasted time. Our why? Yeah, it's money. Why would I not like doc, but it's something that all the labs have access to. And even for basic things. Where do you buy your antibiotics?
Okay.
What's the best?
Yeah, thank you guys. So what we're going to do now is I just want to hear a couple of the responses, but the other reason we had you write down on note cards, which Ruchira's going to collect from you, is so that we can do sort of a postmortem and aggregate some of the responses that you guys have. So let's start way up in that corner. So what were a few of the things that came up during your discussion? First of all, who's your appointed one, anointed one? You guys are going to make the undergrad do this? Wow. All right, Cassie.
One of the biggest knowledge gaps we talked about.
Hold on, let me give you a microphone.
There's a microphone in the back on the shelf.
We're bringing one to you.
Okay. One of the biggest knowledge gaps we talked about was like having a lack of genetics background, so like just a general knowledge of genetics.
Okay, great, thank you. So let's go ahead and move on over here. Annalisa's group.
Okay. So for the second question, what we thought was that we don't have the ability necessarily or the knowledge to manipulate in specific cell types or if we have targeted protein interests.
Okay. Well, you want to pass that back?
Something that we talked about was just not knowing, so this whole idea of a knowledge gap, not knowing how these techniques work. But also, a lot of us are trying to make things work in our own lab, so if we can have some sort of repository of like, here are the product numbers that you should use if you want to get in situ working. Just something where we don't have to like find it for ourselves every time, because there are plenty of people here who have done these techniques. We're kind of bringing all of that knowledge together in one place.
So a knowledge repository.
Yeah.
Cool, okay. Just hand that behind you. I'm gonna move over and we'll do sort of 2 more and then move on to the next session. If I didn't get to your group this time, then you're up next time. So yeah, right there is great. I don't actually think I know anybody in that group, so.
All right.
Maybe introduce yourself first.
Yeah,
First,
I'm
thanks.
Megan Donovan. So we also said very similar things to all the other groups. Another thing that we talked briefly about was trying to get some more behavioral assays in the Vole world and like actually figuring out what they mean would be really helpful, and just a major theme of resources. So even maybe the opportunity of bringing someone to us in terms of helping us learn these techniques and getting the resources into our specific labs.
Great, yeah. So there will be a survey at the end, and that's one of the things I want you guys to think about is what are the best ways to get this information to you. So we've sort of set it up where we can bring people into our labs and show you how things work, but there's also potentially the opportunity for a workshop, etc. So we're really trying to feel out what's going to best meet your needs here. Okay, one more. Should we come up? Maybe. All right, Anne, you're up. Introduce yourself, please. She's giving me a stink eye, by the way.
Hi, my name is Ann Pierce. I'm with Zoe Donaldson. Some of the things that we talked about are just having transgenic lines. I think Lisa may have mentioned this earlier, but it'd be great to be able to target specific cell types, a nice Vole genome, even something as simple as Vole atlas would be great. And that's what we talked about in regard to tools and what would help us with our research.
Great, okay, thank you. So we're gonna move from here, so these were very much supposed to be focused on what do you need to do your research program, or what would be transformative for you, to a quick set of questions that are more focused on what do you think was most beneficial for the community. So you can stay in your existing groups. Again, another note card, so we're gonna collect the note cards that you guys just did, give you new ones. But just, what do you think will make the biggest difference for the community as a whole? So go for it, so I hear the voices.
Yeah, a Vole brain atlas. What do you guys use right now? Yeah, we use like a mixture
Yeah, I mean, since most labs, lots of different legal labs.
We don't know that this is straight now, all have the same issues. To each other. Yeah, exactly.
go out and get new and a lot of your lab usually sounds out there.
Yeah.
I think we sent you some
I'm
balls recently.
sending Alex another email. He's going to have some issues. You guys can see.
Let me know.
We had some breathing issues actually with some of them. He either didn't breathe initially or breathed for a while and started to kill each other.
Too, yeah. After like a certain number of
So we're not going out. I'm the one who caught the last batch.
Oh, great.
We're gonna go out again. Not this year. I'm actually gonna go back to Illinois. But
So we should call them Caitlin Bulls on their rack.
yeah. From me. Yeah. But think about it. Should we have our labs on or should we have like it's very easy. I can teach people. You literally go out there, you work with the University of Illinois, you put some traps out. It's annoying. I lose 2 weeks worth of like time. But like how wild, I think as a community, how wild do we want these guys to go? Do we want them all to come from where they call the fish that I caught?
Like there is the money.
Or do you want, how inbred? Yeah.
Okay. Like if you're
Yeah.
As far as I know, we have 3 places, 3
Yep. And we get into, how often are you guys getting calls from us? Those get super like, we either need.
Our lab has been trying that out. We have a lot of feedback from that. So, just like, so the first step is from other labs kind of compromise systems.
Probably talking to other labs and like, this is how we did it with our best lab.
Yeah, absolutely. You can get them started with that.
Yeah, like we go through quarantine for a long time.
When I moved to Kansas, I had so many conversations. Oh, you do vole work? Vole in my yard. Voles are indigenous. Now, we don't want
All right, 2 more minutes, guys. So synthesize those ideas. Yes, this is the last round of questions. in case you're wondering. Okay, all right, let's find out what you came up with. So let's go ahead and start up here. I don't think you guys have gone yet. Are you guys 2 groups or 1? They're 1, okay, cool. So we'll start in the front, so if you can introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Phoebe Edwards from the University of Toronto. When we were talking about the techniques and resources, we said basically communication of resources. So some of us didn't know, for example, there is a Vole brain atlas. So the availability of those different resources between research groups.
So we'll move back on. So resource availability again coming up as a theme.
Hi everybody, I'm Lindsay at Cornell University. And in terms of resources, we discussed what's the ability to attain various transgenic lines, such as purchasing transgenic mice or rats. And this would be most important, especially for individuals that are starting a new lab.
Okay. Yeah, so we need a Jackson Labs. Okay.
Hi, I'm Kathleen. I'm in Donaldson Lab as well. And we talked about a couple things, but we thought it'd be nice to have some type of listserv or a Vole community where you can see what labs are doing what type of research, so you know who to reach out to when trying new behavioral or genetic techniques.
Some sort of aggregation of knowledge again. Let's go in the middle here, Arya, and then Will, and Help, guys, help.
I'm just kidding.
Excellent cooperative behavior.
Hey, okay, so I'm Will Henkel. We said a lot of the same sort of techniques that a lot of the other groups said, better spreading of the whole genome, DREADS, Opto would all be handy to us, and we also sort of took a kind of bird's eye view, and we're thinking about advocating for the Vole model and explaining its strengths, not just in the social behavior domain, but also the various other sort of adaptations that the Vole has and the benefits it has over working with mice. So we're thinking about sort of compiling a list or a document of strengths of the prairie vole model and all its wonderful uses. So that's number one. Number two was actually number one.
Okay. So thinking beyond attachment when studying voles, essentially.
Yeah.
And advocating. Cool. All right. So I kind of want to open it up for a minute or two. So any sort of larger comments or themes that have come out to people through this process? Seems like there is a desire for sort of aggregating some of these resources rather than trying to reinvent the wheel and figuring out who you need to talk to for XYZ. I just want to mention that that is one of the things that we're trying to put together. So you'll get more information on this towards the end, but we've got a Google Groups, similar to what was initiated for implementing CRISPR in multiple labs in the first place. This one is focused more on voles. And so we want to use that as a site where we can aggregate a lot of this information, and you can just go there via the genetic engineering website. But you can post questions, you can search for answers to questions that have already been answered, and hopefully we'll be able to aggregate protocols and product numbers and things like that in that kind of space. Okay. So we're going to move on to the first 3 talks this morning. We have 1 talk and then a coffee break. I just wanted to mention the reason that there was a picture of note cards on the screen earlier is because we do recognize that it can be a little bit difficult and anxiety-provoking to have to sit there with a microphone and ask your questions. So if you don't feel comfortable doing that, please write it down. More note cards will be handed out right now, and then you can just sort of hand your note card to myself or to Ruchiro, who's in the back there, and we'll ask it for you. So please, we want to hear your voices. So the first speaker that we have today